So it's been a while since we talked. Hurricane Irma, yeah. It was pretty intense over here. I would say we got lucky. Now, I want to talk about something just in general in life when it comes to any natural disaster. You know, we're always saying that we're praying that it doesn't hit us, but there are other individuals who are in this world that will get hit by a storm, an earthquake, etc. So when we pray not to get hit, you know, that affects somebody else's lives. So I really don't like that saying like, oh, you know, you obviously don't want to, you know, have any damage or have anything bad happen to one another, but praying that it goes to, let's say, the west coast of Florida, like, that's not cool either. So I don't know, just a quick comment about like not wanting to wish anybody any harm, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying those people are, but, you know, just don't hope that it hits anywhere else. Let's hope, you know, no natural disasters harm anybody. Alright, as soon as I sit down at the table, pick up a decent hand, ace 10, middle position, and I just got to the table. We're gonna limp here, you know, see what this table's all about. Will it be an aggressive table? Will it be a nitty table? So the guy next to me exposes his ace, and he makes the call. It's the ace of spades, so I have an ace now, so now I'm not loving my hand as much, knowing that, you know, the player next to me has an ace, although I do have information. So there's a couple more limps, and we actually go 6 ways to the flop. The flop comes ace, king, 8, rainbow. So the player first to act checks. I end up putting a bet of 25. I don't know if this is a good play or not. I know my opponent next to me has an ace as well, but knowing that I know what he has, I think it shows strength. So he's next to act, and he shoves all in for 160 right off the bat. Everyone else folds and it's back onto me, and I have a decision to make. He could definitely be doing this, trying to represent a lot of strength, since I know he has an ace. So he could have ace X anything and just be doing this, trying to get me to fold. The price is cheap enough, you know. I bought in for 1,000, so I definitely have no problem making this call based on my stack. On the other hand, he could have a monster like an ace king and an ace 8 and have 2 pair. But either way, I got a call here. I make the call. The turn is the 5, and the river is the last remaining ace. I'm not sure where I really am in this hand, but I turn it over. He also turns over, obviously, the ace, but he has ace 8 for a full house. So not quite sure if I should have folded here. Let me know in the comments down below. Definitely it's a spot where, you know, I think maybe I did make a mistake, but he's kind of revealing his hand too, based on what he has. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Definitely a confusing spot, I would say. In this next hand, this is probably the hand of the night for sure. I got pocket 8s, the snowman, under the gun, and I bump it up to 25 in this 2-5 game. It folds around to the cutoff, who calls a 25, and the button 3 bets to 100. This player has raised his past 5 buttons, and you know, that's something you gotta pay attention to. People that try to exploit the other players when they're on the button, which is definitely a great play, because you're in position, and if you do get called, you're in position post-flop. I look down, and pocket 8s is not strong enough in my opinion to 4-bet. Although based on his actions, it may get him to fold. But the problem here with a 4-bet is if he shoves, I kind of have to fold. My hand isn't that strong, so I decide to make the call of 100, and the cutoff calls 100 as well. So we're going 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes out, decent flop, ace 9 8, bingo. So we got 3 snowmen now. So we hit a set. It's on me, and I'm going to check this hand and going to try to let the button continue his bluffing, as I think that's what he's doing. So I check, but strangely the cutoff bet's 155. His range could pretty much be anything here. I don't have much information on this player. And it gets the button, and he pretty quickly calls on 55. So now it's back on me, and I'm thinking the button here, maybe he does have a real hand. Maybe he has an ace-king type hand. So definitely the cutoff bet as well. And there was a call, so I don't think I want a smooth call here because they've both shown some sort of strength. How do I get max value? I could call and see what the turn brings, but based on the button's call, I'm actually thinking he has a strong hand at this point. So I have 695 left, and against two players, I'm not going to fold around. Against one player, I would probably just smooth call. I just ship it all in for 695, and the cutoff thinks for quite a bit, and he makes a call. I'm thinking he doesn't have pocket nines because he would have snap called, and he obviously doesn't have pocket aces unless he's trying to induce the other player to call. And he wouldn't have pocket aces anyways because he didn't re-raise pre-flop. So it's back on the button, and he thinks about it for a while and eventually folds. So it's just me and the cutoff all in, really big pot. The turn comes and it's a 3, the river comes and it's another blank, it's a 7. And I turn over my hand and he mucks. I don't know what he had for a while. Later on I heard him talking to a buddy of his, and he informs him he had ace-9. That's a big mistake. Why are you calling 100 with ace-9 pre-flop? But happy to take down the pot. Nice pot, 1700, and you know, we take down a very nice pot. So we're happy about that outcome. GoPro, stop recording. In this next hand, I'm in the small blind, and I have pocket sixes. Folds around to the button, who puts in a bet of 20. Typical play, you want to pick up the blinds. So I'm going to put a 3-bet here. You know, I have a good hand, so I bump it up to 75 to lose basically any, you know, medium strength hands. I think I can get him off if he happens to have one of those. The big blind folds, and the button surprisingly calls. So we go to a flop of ace-queen 3, and this hits my opponent range way more than mine. So I don't think there's any point to continuation betting here. Although maybe there is. A lot of the times, you know, players miss probably 70% of flops. But I decide to take the pot control method, and I check. He ends up checking back, which doesn't say much because he could still check back an ace to conceal his hand. The turn comes and it's a jack. So this puts another high card on the board. I decide to check again. He also decides to check. So at this point I don't think he has an ace. The river comes and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It's a king. So basically any 10 is Broadway. Any one of those cards, ace, queen, jack, king, beats me. I decide to check, and he also checks. I turn over my sixes, and he turns over his 7s. So I guess, yeah, we both had the same mindset, you know, high cards, and, you know, he takes that one down. Pretty straightforward hand there. Nothing too exciting, guys, but just wanted to show, you know, different types of hands, not just, you know, huge pots or whatever. So, yeah, so we lose that one, but the night's going all right because of that set of 8s hand. So lately, when I'm playing the session, I like to put a straddle on the button a couple times a night. You got position, it's a good place to straddle. And I look down 9-6 of diamonds, and there's 6 limpers, and it folds to me. I could raise here, but I think my hand plays well multi-way. So I decide just to check it, and we go 7 ways to the flop. The flop comes, and it's queen, 9, 5, 1 diamond, 5 of diamonds, and I flop mid-pair. It checks around all the way to me, so I'm going to put in a bet here as nobody showed any strength, and I want to make it a reasonable amount to make sure I get rid of any hands that are speculative hands that aren't, you know, could see the turn for cheat, but I want to make them pay for their hands. So I bet 70. and only a player in middle position calls. Now, this player is definitely a calling station and one of the more aggressive players at the table from what I've seen. So we end up going to the turn. The turn is a 2 of diamonds. A pretty good card as it's a safe card, and now it actually gives me a flush draw. So he ends up checking to me, and I'm definitely going to bet here. He called my bet of 70 on the flop, so this type of player could have any hand. He could have Jack 10 for open-ended. He could possibly have top pair with the queen. He could also have a 9. I want to make my bet, since I want to make my bet basically feel like it's an overbet, because I feel I have a lot of odds. I feel I can hit a 9, a 6, or a diamond. So if I do get called, I still definitely have a lot of decent outs. So I actually overbet the pot to 235, as I know he will chase draws if he had a hand like Jack 10. And with the queen, he may call, but maybe he may be reluctant, as I did bet a big amount. So he thinks about it for a long time. He looks at me, and he ends up making the fold, and which makes me feel like maybe he didn't have a queen, and I could have sized this bet down and actually extracted some value from a player that's a calling station. Then again, I only had a 9 with a weak kicker, so maybe he folded a 9. Either way, happy with the result. I win the button straddle. In this next hand, I pick up Jack 10 under the gun, and I'm not a fan of limping here. If I'm going to play this hand, I'm going to raise, or I'll just fold as in the first act. So I decide to put in a bet of $20 under the gun, and the cutoff calls, the button calls, and the big blind calls. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes, ace, 10, 9, and we flop middle pair. I want to kind of see where I'm at in this flop, so I decide to throw out a pot size bet of 45. The cutoff folds, the button calls, and the big blind folds. The button is the player from the last hand who I said was a calling station and very aggressive. So he could have anything here. Let's see what the turn brings. The turn is a 7 of clubs, which brings in a backdoor flush draw, but it gives me a gut shot now as well, as I have Jack 10. I decide to check and see if he decides to bet or check, just kind of see what happens here. He definitely could have an ace in his range, so I'm more going into check call mode if he throws out a bet. He decides to throw out a bet of $85, and I think he senses weakness in me that I don't really have any sort of hand. So seeing as I have the gut shot and I could definitely hit 2 pair or trips with a third 10, I decide to make the call. The river comes and it's an ace. This is a good card in my opinion, because now it's less likely that he has an ace in his hand. So I end up checking to see what he does. He asked me how much I have left, and to me, I've noticed over the years this is kind of a tell. It's not really a bullying tactic, I would say, but it's more of a tactic to try to scare you and be like, how much do you have left, so they can throw out a bet and try to intimidate you. He ends up betting 125, and I go over the hands, and the ace at the end is a club, so I forgot to mention that. So the backdoor flush does get there, but against this player type, I think it's weak to fold, as I got 2 pair. I don't put him on an ace at this point, so I basically have the second highest pair on the board, and I have a pretty good kicker. So I analyze the hand and think I'm probably good here, and I make the call. I show and he mucks, and we're good. In the future, in the past, this probably would have been a hand I folded. But the more and more you play, you really have to pay attention to the type of players you're playing against, as your range will definitely be wider against aggressive calling station type players. Against a type player, I may have made the fold, but against this player, I think it's pretty straightforward call, and I take down that pot. So we ended up this session with a winning session. We made $350, so that is a profit. The bankroll challenge now, we had a loss last time of $275, a win this time of $350, so we are up profit $75 in our 100K bankroll challenge, and we are a mere $99,925 away from our goal, but we're definitely on the up and up, small up and up, but yeah, we're on the up and up. And yeah, thanks guys for watching the vlog as always. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, and yeah, until the next time when I put out a vlog in a YouTube near you, peace out. GoPro, stop recording.